When will price drop on iPhone 13? The iPhone 13 series is one of the most talked about smartphones in the market presently. Expert says the price of the iPhone 13 is finally being dropped, but it still won't probably save you any money yet. The iPhone 13 debut was over a year ago, and the iPhone 14 will be probably released in the coming month. With this, iPhone purchasers must make a difficult choice: buy the iPhone 13, which is unquestionably one of the greatest Apple phones right now, or wait until the fall for whatever upgrades the iPhone 14 has to offer. Before the release of the iPhone 13, Apple's latest phones, particularly the iPhone 13 Pro models, were in short supply due to supply chain difficulties. However, you can now order a phone directly from Apple and have it in your possession in a matter of days. By March 2022, the price of the iPhone 13, 256 GB, will have dropped 7%, as predicted by iPrice Group, after it examined the historical selling prices of earlier models. Users will be able to get this item for $1,012 as a result. This $73 price reduction is a sizable sum for prospective customers on a tight budget. Over time, the pricing histories of the iPhone X, XS, 11, and 12 series led iPrice Group to this conclusion. All of these devices had a price reduction after a year. The prices of the iPhone X, iPhone 11, and iPhone XS decreased by 10%, 7%, and 4% respectively, while the cost of the iPhone 12 decreased by 12%. Apple also forecasts that the iPhone 13 series will be available for $995 by this time next year. This indicates that the item will be sold for $90 less than what it originally cost. Looking at the price reductions, 6 months of waiting will result in a $73 savings. However, if you wait a year, you'll receive $90. It makes sense to wait 6 months and receive a $73 discount. If you're fortunate, you might come upon a coupon that will further lower the cost. Waiting a year won't be worthwhile because the price decrease is not only minimal, but also because the iPhone 14 will be out by then. Here is what you get with an iPhone 13 and how Apple's alleged plans for iPhone 14 later this year may affect your choice to purchase. What's available now for iPhone 13? 4 different iPhone 13 versions were available when it launched in September of last year. The greatest iPhone currently available is the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is our favorite of the lot. But it's also the most costly. At $100 less, the iPhone 13 Pro has a smaller display, but many of the same capabilities. The iPhone 13's $799 price tag and combination of features and value have attracted most users. The 5.4-inch screen of the iPhone 13 mini, the least expensive of the new iPhones, limits its appeal to those who like compact phones. The A15 Bionic chip, the most potent mobile processor, powers all 4 iPhone 13 versions: iPhone 13, iPhone 13 mini, iPhone 13 Pro, and iPhone 13 Pro Max. Although any iPhone 13 versus iPhone 12 comparison has revealed some advancements yearly, the most prominent benefits are noticed if you upgrade from an earlier iPhone. A substantial improvement in low-light images compared to a phone released just 3 years ago can be seen in the iPhone 13 versus iPhone XR camera comparison, for instance. Rumored features for iPhone 14. But before we continue, go ahead and click the subscribe and like buttons. It takes a lot to make these videos. Your small actions tell YouTube to keep promoting our videos. Also, tell us in the comment section what you think about the price comparison between the 2 iPhone models. Thanks. Now back to the video. As the release date of the iPhone 14 approaches, anticipate more of those leaks. Some reports claim that the Apple event could happen on September 13, while others claim that the iPhone 14 announcement date could be as soon as September 6. We wouldn't expect Apple to wander away from its long-standing practice of releasing significant iPhone updates in the fall. So as of this writing, we're still about a month away from seeing the iPhone 14. However, these are the supposed changes and improvements that could be on the way, assuming you can wait that long. 1. A faster processor. This is a given. We anticipate that the iPhone 14 will bring a new system on chip, as is typical for every new iPhone model. That likely indicates that the A15 Bionic silicon that drives the devices from this year will be replaced. If Apple's chip supplier shifts to a 4-nanometer technology, which can fit more transistors onto the chip than the 5nm A15, you'd think the device would be speedier and more power efficient. Nevertheless, generational performance improvements are frequently invisible to the human eye. Even if you've had your current iPhone for years, a CPU upgrade wouldn't be sufficient to put off an upgrade. 2. New model size. The iPhone 13 mini, which has that specific screen size, is most likely the last of its sort. For the iPhone 14, Apple is expected to go big with a cheaper 6.7-inch model that will serve as a larger screen version of the 6.1-inch iPhone 14. So if you prefer smaller phones, now is the time to upgrade. If this rumor comes true and Apple introduces the iPhone 14 Max, it will offer a big screen choice for less money than the Pro Max devices now on the market. It may make sense for big screen phone enthusiasts who can't afford an iPhone 13 Pro Max to wait until the fall. 3. The return of Touch ID. Face ID and the notch of the iPhone X replaced the iPhone's fingerprint sensors, which Apple removed. Although Apple's otherwise excellent face scanning technology fails when you're wearing a mask, iPhone lovers would still love to see Touch ID make a comeback. And a lot of us are, even if it's only inside. However, everything may have changed with the release of iOS 15.4, which included support for Face ID with masks. There is no agreement on whether Touch ID will be back in the iPhone 14 or what shape it will take. A sensor beneath the display is a possibility, or Apple may decide to incorporate it into the power button, as it does on the iPad Air and iPad mini now in use. You might not want to count Touch ID as one of your reasons to hold out for an iPhone 14, given how uncertain its future is. However, Dan Ives, head of popular analyst group Wedbush Securities, explained the rise in supply chain prices contributed to the increase in prices for the upcoming iPhone 14 series. We believe a $100 price increase is coming for the iPhone 14, explained Ives. Prices have been increasing across the whole supply chain, and Cupertino needs to pass these costs to the consumer on this release. Even if the standard models, which would have the same design, rear cameras, and chipset as the iPhone 13, will suffer from the $100 price increase, the most significant financial damage comes from the range's starting point rising from $699 to $899. Should I buy an iPhone 13 or wait for the upcoming iPhone 14? You can decide whether the iPhone 13 is the appropriate phone for you or whether you're better off waiting for features that are more in line with your wish list, using the rumors about what Apple is planning, hopefully. Again, there is no one correct answer to this query. It all depends on the features you are looking for in a phone and the likelihood that Apple will offer them, either now or in the future.